Texas is, which is where all the big parties
are.
Night
in rural Oklahoma. The television is still glowing in an otherwise dark living room. A 14-year-old Blake Shelton reaches for the telephone because he has just seen something funny and wants to tell the one person whose reaction matters most. His older brother Richie, for a split second, the habit feels completely normal. Blake can almost hear the conversation before it begins. He knows how Richie will laugh. He knows the joke Richie will make.
Only when something is important to me.
I don't know about Blake. I don't know how sincere he truly is.
They even know which record they will argue about afterward. Then, his hand stops. Richie cannot answer. He was killed in a car accident days earlier. Blake would later describe experiencing moments much like this brief. Ordinary seconds when his mind forgot what had happened, only for reality to strike him all over again. The loss did not arrive once. It kept returning every time he remembered that his brother was gone.
Blake Shelton.
Years later,
I'll just try to keep it interesting.
That's what liars say.
I hear a lot of the other coaches talking
Blake
about
Shelton would become one of country music's most recognizable stars. He would score #1 hits, fill arenas, coach aspiring singers on national television, and make millions of viewers laugh with his competitive jokes and seemingly effortless charm. But behind that familiar smile was a private wound he admitted he never truly overcame. Blake Shelton's story is not simply about a small-town singer becoming famous. It is about a boy whose world suddenly went silent, and the surprising way that silence followed him into every stadium, recording studio, marriage, television set, and song that came afterward. Blake Tollison Shelton was born on June 18, 1976. In Ada, Oklahoma, his mother, Dorothy, owned a beauty salon, while his father, Richard, worked as a used car salesman. Ada was not Nashville or Los Angeles. It was the kind of place where reputations formed early, families knew one.
Come on.
He's been here since like he was 40 and now he's 80.
And a talented child could quickly become familiar at local events. Blake began singing while he was still young. By his early teenage years, he was performing in talent shows and community gatherings, developing a voice that already sounded older than the boy producing it. Yet one of the most important influences in his life was not a famous country singer. It was Richie. Richie Shelton was 10 years older than Blake. To Blake, that age difference made him seem less like an ordinary sibling and more like a guide to the world waiting beyond childhood. Richie's clothes looked cooler. His musical taste seemed more important. His opinions carried weight. Blake wanted to listen to what Richie listened to. He wanted to dress like him and understand the things Richie understood. He later called his brother his hero. Then, on November 13th...
Come on, look at that. You can't stop.
The Frisco people.
The Frisco people are in the house tonight.
Richie was killed in a car accident at the age of 24. Blake was only 14. Some losses divide life into two unmistakable parts: the person you were before the phone rang, and the person you became afterward. For Blake, Richie's death appears to have created that division. His father tried to explain something no teenager should have to understand. He told Blake that he would never get over what had happened. He would simply have to learn how to live with it. At 14, those words may have sounded unbearably final, but Blake eventually realized his father was right. Grief did not disappear. It changed shape. At first, it was disbelief. Blake would instinctively think about calling Richie before remembering there would be no answer. Later, grief became memory, the music Richie loved, the expressions he used, and the image of the older brother Blake had wanted to become. Eventually, it became urgency.
I can't throw you, man. I can't throw you. I love it. I think the album cover is cool. It's mysterious. You're like a stranger.
Richie taught him how precious life was and convinced him there was no better time than the present to pursue what mattered. That lesson would become one of the invisible forces behind his career. 2 years after Richie's death, another important moment arrived. At 16, Blake received the Denbo Diamond Award, Oklahoma's top honor for young entertainers. The recognition confirmed that his talent extended beyond family encouragement and local applause. But talent alone could not build the future he imagined. At 17, shortly after graduating from high school, Blake left Ada for Nashville. Picture that journey not as a celebrity origin story polished by hindsight, but as it probably felt at the time. A teenage boy from Oklahoma arrives in the capital of country music, carrying songs, confidence, uncertainty, and a grief he rarely discusses. Nashville
He's like the king of the voice, you know, he's what people love about this show. He's one of the main reasons.
is filled
I
with
think it's
talented people who believe they are one opportunity away from success. Most of them never received that opportunity. Blake did not immediately become a star. He worked, waited, wrote, and tried to place himself in rooms where someone might finally recognize what made his voice different. One of his early jobs involved painting houses for country music legend Mae Boren Axton, the co-writer of Elvis Presley's Heartbreak Hotel. Through connections and persistence, Blake found work at a music publishing company, where he recorded demos and continued learning how the industry operated. This part of the journey lasted years. That matters because celebrity biographies often compress struggle into a few inspirational sentences. A teenager moves to Nashville. He works hard. Then his first single becomes a hit. But between those sentences are thousands of mornings when nothing changes. There are performances where the right person does not
Come on, there's only one Blake Shelton.
appear, songs that disappear into filing cabinets, meetings that sound promising but lead nowhere, friends who abandon the dream because rent is due and patience has run out. Blake remained. By the late 1990s, he had secured a recording contract. Yet even then, stability proved fragile. Labels changed, plans shifted, and songs were reconsidered. At one stage, I Want to Talk About Me, a track intended for Blake, was reportedly passed over and later became a major hit for Toby Keith. For a struggling artist, watching a rejected song succeed through someone else could easily feel like proof that the industry had made its decision. But Blake's defining opportunity finally arrived with a different song. Austin, released in 2001, Austin tells the story of a woman calling a former lover and hearing an answering machine message that reveals he still hopes she will return. It was simple, emotional,
All I can
and
think
built
about is pointing my finger in the people's face that I beat to get that artist.
around one unforgettable final line. The song reached #1 and remained there for 5 weeks. After nearly a decade of waiting, Blake Shelton was no longer simply a hopeful singer from Ada. He had a breakthrough single, a recognizable voice, and a place within mainstream country music. But success creates a strange kind of pressure. The dream changes from reaching the top to proving you deserve to stay there. Blake followed Austin with more hits and gradually became one of country radio's most reliable performers. Songs such as The Baby, Some Beach, Home, Hillbilly Bone, Honeybee, and God Gave Me You showed different sides of his personality. Some were emotional, others were playful. Together they helped create the Blake Shelton audiences came to recognize: romantic without seeming overly polished, humorous without losing credibility, and country without appearing inaccessible to a wider audience. The public version of Blake
here and I go to sleep here. It's my little home inside my home. You gotta be kidding
grew
me.
louder, funnier, and more confident. The private loss remained. That contrast is one of the most fascinating parts of his story. Millions of people would eventually know Blake as the man making jokes from a red chair on television. He teased other celebrities, mocked himself, and approached competition with the energy of someone who could turn almost any tense moment into entertainment. Yet the song most directly connected to Richie was one Blake decided he could not perform himself. Years after the accident, Blake shared details of his brother's death with Miranda Lambert, who was then his wife. During an emotional conversation, the two began writing what would become Over You. The song did not attempt to explain grief neatly. It captured the anger, confusion, and permanence of losing someone too soon. Blake gave the song to Miranda. The reason was devastatingly simple. He was not sure he could
Ever. Woo! Come on in, guys. You actually live here?
sing it night after night on stage. Think about that. This was a man who had built his life around singing emotional truths to strangers. He could stand before thousands of people and perform songs about heartbreak, regret, and devotion. But this particular truth remained too close. Miranda released Over You in 2012. The song became a major success and won important honors, including Song of the Year at the Country Music Association Awards. Audiences connected with it because it felt universal. For Blake, however, it was painfully specific. Behind every lyric was a brother who never saw his rise to fame. Richie never heard Austin on the radio. He never watched Blake win awards. He never witnessed the moment his younger brother became a household name. and then television changed Blake's life again. In 2011, he joined the first season of NBC's The Voice alongside Adam Levine, Christina Aguilera,
Come on.
He's been here since like he was 40 and now he's
CeeLo
80.
Green. At the time, joining a reality competition carried some risk for an established musician. Television could expand an artist's audience, but it could also make the artist appear less serious. Instead, The Voice revealed Blake's greatest advantage beyond singing. His personality. His rivalry with Adam Levine became one of the show's central attractions. Their insults appeared spontaneous, playful, and strangely affectionate. Blake knew when to make a contestant laugh, when to offer practical advice, and when to stop joking long enough to create a genuine emotional connection. The show introduced him to people who had never listened to country radio. Grandparents, teenagers, and pop fans began recognizing him not only as a musician, but as someone they felt they knew. He stayed for 23 seasons and became the show's longest-serving coach.
Frisco, Texas, which is where all the big parties
more coaching
are.
victories than any other coach during his tenure. But beneath the competition was another layer. Blake understood young performers standing at the edge of an uncertain future because he had once been one of them. He knew what it meant to leave home with no guarantee of success. He knew how quickly life could change and how easily time could disappear. In 2023, during his final season, contestant Nueva spoke about losing his brother. Blake responded by sharing his own experience of losing Richie at 14. For a moment, the entertainer disappeared. There was no punchline, no rivalry, no exaggerated television reaction. There were simply two men recognizing the same kind of absence in each other. Those moments help explain why Blake's humor connects so strongly. It does not necessarily come from a life untouched by pain. It may come from someone who learned early that pain would remain whether he laughed or not. His professional success
He's like the king of The Voice. He's what people love about this show. He's one of the main reasons.
did not protect his personal life from difficulty. Before becoming a major television figure, Blake married Kaynette Gurn in 2003. They divorced in 2006. He later began a relationship with fellow country star Miranda Lambert, and the two married in 2011. To fans, Blake and Miranda appeared to represent a powerful country music partnership. They performed together, wrote songs together, and seemed to understand the unusual pressures of fame because both were living through them. Their marriage was also surrounded by constant attention. Every public appearance produced stories, every absence invited speculation. Rumors could spread before either person had the chance to respond. In July 2015, Blake and Miranda announced their divorce after 4 years of marriage. The split was finalized quickly, but the emotional consequences were not. Blake later described the period as one of the lowest points in his life.
Come on, look at that. You can't stop.
The Frisco people.
The Frisco people are in the house
The
tonight.
man audiences saw on television was dealing with the collapse of a relationship under the gaze of millions of people. There is an imagined moment that captures the emotional truth of that chapter, even though it is not a documented event. Picture Blake returning to a quiet house after filming an episode of The Voice. Hours earlier, the studio had been filled with applause. He had traded jokes, pressed buttons, and performed the version of himself audiences expected. Now, the room is silent. His phone is crowded with headlines written by strangers who believe they understand his marriage. Every notification turns private pain into public entertainment. He places the phone face down, walks toward the window, and looks out at an Oklahoma landscape that has remained indifferent to fame. No audience, no music, no one asking him to be funny, only a man confronting the difference between being loved by millions and feeling understood by one person.
When something is important to me.
I don't know about Blake. I don't know how sincere he truly is.
Scene is fictionalized, but the conflict is real. Public success does not eliminate loneliness. Sometimes it makes loneliness harder to admit. During this difficult period, Blake formed an unexpected connection with another coach on The Voice, Gwen Stefani. On the surface, they appeared to come from completely different worlds. Blake was the Oklahoma country singer who joked about hunting, farming, and drinking. Gwen was the California-born pop-rock icon known for No Doubt, bold fashion, and an artistic identity shaped far beyond Nashville. Yet both were experiencing painful divorces at roughly the same time. Their connection developed not because their lives looked identical, but because their emotions did. Each understood what it felt like to maintain a public face while a private relationship was falling apart. Friendship became support. Support became love. They began dating in 2015
Come on, there's only one Blake Shelton.
and married in July 2021 at Blake's Oklahoma ranch. For Blake, the relationship also introduced a new kind of responsibility. Gwen had 3 sons, and Blake became an important presence in their lives. He has spoken about how seriously he takes that role and how it changed his priorities. The man who once left Oklahoma as a teenager because he felt there was no time to waste eventually began questioning how much time he was giving to television instead of family. That realization contributed to his departure from The Voice in 2023. Leaving was significant. The show had transformed him from a successful country singer into a mainstream television personality. It was where he met Gwen. It had provided more than a decade of stability, attention, and cultural relevance. Walking away meant surrendering a position most entertainers would fight to keep. But Blake's life had begun to revolve around a different calculation. Not simply
Ever. Woo! Come on in, guys.
You actually live here?
what opportunity
Oh, yeah.
comes next, but who receives the years I have left? That question leads directly back to Richie. When Blake was 14, he learned that time could disappear without warning. At 17, that knowledge pushed him toward Nashville. Decades later, the same awareness may have encouraged him to step away from a relentless television schedule and spent more time with his family. The tragedy did not produce only sadness, it shaped his relationship with time. In 2025, Blake released the album For Recreational Use Only, marking another chapter in a career that had already survived shifting musical trends, changing record labels, and the end of his weekly role on The Voice. He also continued expanding his Ole Red entertainment venues and returned to Las Vegas for live performances in January 2026. He had not retired or disappeared. He had simply reorganized the center of his life. And that distinction matters. Some people step away because they have lost their ambition. Others step away because ambition no longer deserves every available hour. Blake's public image still carries the familiar ingredients: country music, Oklahoma humor, competitive teasing, and an ability to make serious situations feel lighter. But Over You reveals the part that humor cannot erase. He once said the world seemed to go silent when Richie died. He did not claim he had defeated that silence. He said he became accustomed to it. There is a major difference. Healing is often presented as a destination. A person experiences tragedy, works through it, and eventually emerges complete. Blake's description suggests something less convenient and more honest. Some losses never become acceptable. They become familiar. You learn which memories will trigger them. You learn how anniversaries feel. You learn how to smile while carrying them. You build a career, fall in love, endure divorce, find love again, and become part of a new family. The loss remains not always in front of you, but never entirely behind you. That may be why Blake Shelton's story resonates beyond country music. The central question is not whether fame healed him. It did not. The more important question is what he chose to create while carrying something fame could never repair. He created songs. He created laughter. He helped unknown singers believe a future was possible. He built a marriage after believing another relationship had left him emotionally broken. He became a father figure, even though that role arrived differently than he may once have expected. And he continued honoring the brother whose life ended before Blake's had truly begun. Richie's absence became part of Blake's ambition, but Blake refused to let tragedy become his entire identity. That may be the hidden meaning behind the humor. When someone has already learned how suddenly the world can change, laughter is not always avoidance. Sometimes it is resistance. Sometimes being the funniest person in the room is not proof that life has been easy. It is proof that pain was not allowed to take everything. Today, Blake Shelton remains one of the most recognizable figures in modern country music. He is married to Gwen Stefani, remains closely connected to Oklahoma, continues recording and performing, and has built a life that stretches far beyond the television chair many viewers once associated with him. But somewhere inside the 49-year-old superstar is still the 14-year-old boy reaching for a telephone before remembering his brother cannot answer. That boy did not disappear when Austin reached #1. He did not disappear when Blake won awards, married famous women, or became one of television's most successful coaches. He simply learned how to keep moving. And perhaps the most heartbreaking part of Blake Shelton's story is also the most inspiring. Richie never lived to witness the future his younger brother created. Yet his influence appears throughout that future in Blake's musical curiosity, his urgency, his loyalty to Oklahoma, and his understanding that opportunities mean little when time is taken for granted. A life that ended at 24 helped shape a career that reached millions. Not through scandal, not through spectacle, through memory. So the next time you see Blake leaning back in a chair, laughing at his own joke or teasing another singer, remember that public personalities rarely show us the entire person. The loudest laugh may exist beside the quietest grief. The most relaxed man in the room may be someone who learned far too young that nothing is guaranteed. And the person who seems to move through life effortlessly may simply have become very skilled at carrying a weight no one else can see. Before you leave, consider this question. Do we ever truly get over the people we lose, or do we simply learn how to build a meaningful life around the space they left behind? Blake Shelton appears to know his answer. You do not forget. You do not completely recover. You keep singing. You keep loving. You keep laughing. And somehow, one day at a time, you learn to live with the silence. Tell us in the comments which part of Blake Shelton's journey affected you most. The loss of his brother, the years he spent struggling in Nashville, the collapse of his marriage, or the unexpected new life he built with Gwen Stefani. And subscribe for more stories about the private battles, painful turning points, and hidden truths behind the famous faces we thought we already knew.